There are more than 53 million people that rely on food banks across America every year. Hi, my name is Calen Smith, and for my spring semester senior seminar, I was wondering how volunteers can help grow communities. During my spring semester senior sem, I was working on what I was going to do for my project. I didn't know what I was planning on doing. I had a few thoughts running through my mind, but I didn't know exactly what I was going to land on. I thought of mental health and thought that was going to be a great way for me to do something, but then I thought I should really try to challenge myself, put myself out of my comfort zone, and try something I haven't really tried before. Then I also thought with science. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do or what I was going to do with science. But then I realized everybody here likes eating food, and that I've always known that food banks have always needed help. With food banks always needing help, I decided to volunteer my time with 2 food banks. So I sent an email out to the New Hampshire Food Bank and the Hooksett Community Food Pantry. Both of those food banks instantly sent me replies back saying, I'm able to work for both of them, I just had to fill out an application. I ended up really staying with the New Hampshire Food Bank because they gave me an application right away, and it just started snowballing, and I got to work there right away. During my work there with the New Hampshire Food Bank, I went down to Manchester every Saturday for 5 hours. I started working on what to do. I didn't know really what I was going to do, so I walked in. I thought it was going to be an inside job, so I just wore like a thin jacket and what I'm basically wearing right now. I walked out, met Peter, and it turns out he was the manager of the whole operations. He was a very accepting, very good guy. I was talking to him, and he was saying, you're not going to be warm enough for 5 hours outside in 25-degree weather. And then I was like, all right, does anybody have anything that I can borrow? Instantly, 4 people came right up to me saying, do you need hat, gloves, hand warmers, etc. Then I realized, right when I got their stuff, how nice and sweet and how caring everybody from the food bank was. And that really put a different perspective on me working there. Instead of me just trying to get through my 5 hours of working there, I ended up loving it and having just to make great connections with everybody that I didn't know of. Then I started with the organizing bread because I was fresh, I didn't know what to do, and Peter just told me, here's what you should start doing with. So he brought me over to the bread, he introduced me to Steve, what's his last name, but he was a very great guy. He taught me exactly what to do. And these pallets, which are these on the side, had multiple rows of bread, probably 3 or 4 stacks of like 12 high. And we had to just sort that for the whole class, or for the whole 3 hours until people started walking through. I ended up getting the hang of it, and I started to realize what I was really doing. Once we organized the food, we would put it back in the pile and leave a few out just for people to walk down the line, just come get the food. Once the people kept walking down the lines, I ended up just handing them the bread, giving them a nice smile, because that's what the people really ended up needing, was just a smile and someone to say, thank you for handing me food, because that's what they were going to need over what I had to offer. I'd like to say a statement from one of the articles I found. It says, volunteers provide support and service to charitable and nonprofit organizations by offering their time, skills, and expertise. With my time, I realized I wanted just to get the minimum hours for this job and just try to pass this and not really think much of it. Then I ended up loving it. I thought it was great. I ended up doing it for over 40 hours, and I had a really good time. I met a lot of new people, really stepped out of my comfort zone with meeting everybody. My skills were very weak. I haven't started, and I didn't know what I was going to do. So I ended up just talking to Peter, like I said, and then he was directing me on what to do. So my skills have slowly improved. So I started with sorting bread, organizing the bread, and passing it out to everybody that needed it. Then I slowly moved up to fruits and vegetables, organizing that, hand them in a little shopping bag, and hand them out to people, and everybody got one. So I've slowly increased my ability to do more and more. Then my expertise has also grown with my skills because I started to understand what every product was versus what people's allergies were and all the other stuff. And I thought that was very interesting with people's new perspective on every person that walked through. I'd like to finish this with a quote by Root Kitano. Volunteers can provide a healthy boost to your self-confidence and self-esteem. You are doing good for others and the community, which provides a natural sense of accomplishment. Your role as a volunteer can give a sense of pride, identity. The better you feel about yourself, the more likely you are to have a positive view of your life and your future goals. I thought this quote was a great way to sum up everything that has been said from this by Root, and she turned out to be a really good source for me. I found a lot of information from her, and then questions. Yes, Mr.
Is this something you plan on doing beyond high school, maybe next year, volunteering work, food banks, or other places you need help?
So it turns out there was a lot of college kids helping out there too, so I might poke in once a month or something like that, maybe just still keep my roots there and try to help out as much as I can.